A stunning new goalkeeper move is set to shock Manchester United fans as the Red Devils target a Premier League star. Liverpool has submitted an offer for a top talent at Real Madrid, and surprisingly, Perez is considering the sale. Is Garnacho heading to Aston Villa? Juventus is making a move for 2 United players. Could a deal be imminent? We'll cover all that and much more in today's episode. But first, as always, please support the channel by hitting the like button. Ready? Let's dive into the latest transfer news. Very few people anticipated this. Manchester United's next signing could be a goalkeeper, not a forward, not Brian Mbeumo, and not another attempt to finally solve the right-wing problem. No, a genuine shot stopper. According to reports from the Argentine press, the new guardian of the Old Trafford goal is on his way. His name is Emiliano Martinez, the celebrated World Cup hero known for saving penalties with machine-like efficiency and celebrating with infectious passion. The newspaper Clarin reports that Martinez has already agreed to the move. Conveniently, his contract with Aston Villa contains a release clause of just $21.6 million in the current inflated market. That's a bargain. Of course, the Ineos management isn't planning to pay the full amount up front. They are reportedly looking to structure the deal in installments, a more financially prudent approach. Meanwhile, Andre Onana has continued his inconsistent form, often appearing to watch shots go past him rather than saving them, and the club is subtly preparing for his potential departure. Officially, Onana is expected to stay, and there are even whispers that he has reconciled with new manager Ruben Amorim. However, we all know that a rivalry with a personality like Emiliano is more than just healthy competition. It's a clear ultimatum to improve or be replaced. Onana famously dislikes being on the bench, a place many fans have wished he'd occupy permanently. Amorim has supposedly given his immediate approval for the Martinez signing. This decision makes perfect sense. Emiliano is consistent, charismatic, and doesn't concede soft goals. Furthermore, he's a high-profile name, and United still values the public relations boost that comes with such a signing, especially after a disastrous previous season. Additionally, the Argentine goalkeeper is eager for a bigger stage. While Aston Villa is a solid club under Unai Emery, it doesn't regularly compete for major trophies. Interestingly, United showed interest in Martinez 2 years ago, but ultimately chose to sign Onana. Now, with new ownership and a new manager, their thinking has changed. Argentine sources believe the deal is extremely close, with contracts being finalized and Martinez having said his goodbyes to the Villa supporters. All signs point to him starting the next season in Manchester. It's not a blockbuster transfer, but it is certainly a very shrewd one. The big question remains: what happens to Onana? Will he stay and fight for his place, be relegated to cup matches, or request a transfer? We will have to wait and see. It seems Vinicius Jr.'s time at Real Madrid may finally be coming to an end. This development isn't entirely shocking. The Brazilian possesses a massive ego and believes he is the undisputed star of the Galacticos, demanding a salary that is out of this world. Florentino Perez's stance is firm. Either Vinicius lowers his financial expectations or he is free to leave. Vinicius had a disappointing performance at the Club World Cup, failing to deliver when it mattered most. Now, with Xabi Alonso set to take over as coach with his highly disciplined tactical system, the situation is even more complicated. Carlo Ancelotti gave the winger complete freedom on the pitch to run at defenders, take players on, and shoot at will. It was a paradise for a player like Vinicius. Alonso, however, is building a machine that prioritizes discipline, positional play, and ball retention. Vinicius and discipline have never been a good mix. The problem is clear. When a player doesn't fit into a coach's system, conflicts arise. Vinicius is accustomed to being the star who is excused from defensive duties. Under Alonso, that won't be tolerated. Every player must work for the team. According to Diario Sport, Perez is prepared to sell Vinicius if he refuses to back down on his wage demands. The Brazilian seems unconcerned, having paused negotiations to explore his options. Ben Jacobs, a reliable insider on Saudi Arabian football, has reported staggering numbers. The Sheikhs are reportedly prepared to offer $350 million for Vinicius, which would set a new world transfer record. Alternatively, if Vinicius wants to remain in Europe, Fichajes claims that Manchester City and PSG are preparing bids. That scenario is almost comical. Both City and PSG are highly structured teams. At Manchester, Guardiola operates a system as precise as a Swiss watch. How would Vinicius fit in? The same applies to PSG under Luis Enrique, who values order and teamwork. The irony is that Vinicius has cornered himself. His contract runs until 2027 and the club is willing to extend it, but he is furious that his salary is on par with Kylian Mbappe's and not higher. While Saudi Arabia might offer him a fortune, it would effectively end his top-flight career. In my opinion, Real Madrid is making the right call. No club should yield to the demands of a single player. If he doesn't become more realistic, he may find himself counting his millions in the desert. It appears that Alejandro Garnacho is ultimately on his way out of Manchester United, and frankly, the Red Devils seem to be pushing him towards the exit themselves. They began by asking for 70 million, then lowered the price to 60 million and are now reportedly willing to accept $50 million. It's like a negotiation at a street market, starting high and eventually selling for a low price just to move the product. According to Caught Offside, United is so eager to sell the Argentine that they are prepared to reduce the asking price to that $50 million figure. If you're wondering about the urgency, it's straightforward. They require funds for a squad overhaul. Ruben Amorim wants to bring in his own players, not work with remnants from previous managers. And Garnacho, it seems, does not feature in the Portuguese coach's plans. The interesting twist is that Chelsea has already withdrawn their interest. The Blues were initially very keen but have since changed their stance, deciding that 50 million is too steep for a 21-year-old winger who hasn't produced consistently high numbers. They already have a surplus of young, promising players who have yet to deliver on their potential. Aston Villa, however, are highly motivated. Unai Emery sees Garnacho as the player who could help propel them into the top four. He is quick, clever, and an excellent dribbler. Paired with Ollie Watkins, he could be a devastating force. But there is a financial hurdle. Villa's standing with financial fair play regulations is precarious. Having spent significantly in previous transfer windows, they now need to balance their accounts. Sources indicate they will have to sell a player to finance a move for Garnacho, or perhaps arrange a loan deal similar to the one they had for Rashford. It's an amusing dynamic. Manchester United loaning its players to Aston Villa like an older sibling lending toys to a younger one. It turns out Garnacho is a player of principle. He has already rejected offers from Saudi Arabia and the Italian club Napoli. A source close to the player stated he is prioritizing his sporting development over a money grab. While many 21-year-olds say this before moving for a large contract at 25, for now, the Argentine wishes to remain in England and compete in a top league. Bayer Leverkusen, now managed by Erik ten Hag, was also in consideration, but Garnacho is reportedly unenthusiastic about reuniting with the Dutch manager. Overall, Garnacho's situation is quite telling. He is only 21, has experience in a Europa League final, and possesses great speed and skill. Yet Manchester United is ready to sell him for a relatively modest sum. This speaks volumes about the club's lack of faith in his long-term potential or their desperate need for immediate funds. For Aston Villa, this could be an outstanding deal if they can negotiate the price and manage their finances. Garnacho in Villa's attack would add extra pace and unpredictability, qualities that Emery knows how to maximize. Personally, I believe he would flourish more at Villa than at United, with less pressure and a solid coach and a team committed to attacking football. If Villa can negotiate the price down to 40-45 million or secure a loan with a mandatory buy option, it would be a brilliant piece of business. Juventus, after a dormant period last season, appears to be reawakening with renewed ambition. The old lady is now scouting the market for players who, despite recent struggles, were once top names, and their focus has landed on a duo from Manchester, Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford. This might sound like a joke from the Erik ten Hag era, but these are genuine transfer targets. Juventus has reportedly held constructive discussions with Sancho's representatives and has inquired about the requirements for a permanent transfer. Additionally, they have reviewed Marcus Rashford's file as a potential alternative. The club urgently needs to reinforce its wings, and as usual, the budget is extremely tight. Sancho's story is a saga in itself. He recently spent time on loan at Chelsea, where he worked hard and showed flashes flashes of his talent, but ultimately returned to Manchester United. Under the new management of Ruben Amorim, Sancho has no future at the club. United is desperate to offload the player at any cost, and according to Sky Sports, they are willing to consider offers in the region of $15 million. This is a staggering loss compared to what they originally paid Borussia Dortmund. Meanwhile, feelers have also been put out for Rashford. The player who once almost single-handedly carried United in the Europa League is now performing at the level of a mid-table Premier League player. He clashed with Amorim mid-last season and subsequently had a decent but unremarkable loan spell at Aston Villa. Nevertheless, Juventus made initial contact with preliminary talks taking place on Wednesday. Rashford is an expensive player with high ambitions. He would prefer a move to Barcelona and Champions League football and is not interested in a London club. However, Barcelona is not making any moves for him, leaving Juventus as the main source of concrete interest. What makes the old lady's interest strange? The club is already dealing with uncertainty surrounding Dusan Vlahovic's future. Now, they are trying to sign two players whose careers are on a downward trajectory, but there is a strategy here. Juventus believes that because these players' values have decreased, they can secure some clever deals. The team needs fast, goal-scoring wingers. In that context, signing Sancho for $15 million appears to be a sensible risk. Rashford is more expensive and riskier, but the potential payoff is huge if he rediscovers his form. The upcoming week promises to be decisive both in Turin and Manchester. Juventus has adopted a strategy of restarting the nearly broken, sort of cheap approach with high potential. While some clubs are looking for bargains among players with expiring contracts, Liverpool is pursuing a major target, Rodrygo. And no, this is not just a rumor. The Real Madrid Brazilian is being seriously considered as the next marquee signing for Anfield. This comes as Arsenal has officially withdrawn from the race for the player. The Gunners held discussions, presented a $90 million offer, but ultimately backed away, finding the deal too complicated and expensive. Instead, they opted for Noni Madueke and Victor Gyökeres, with Mikel Arteta reverting to a moneyball strategy. Liverpool, on the other hand, sees things differently. A winger with impressive statistics, Champions League experience, and at an age perfect for an explosive new chapter is seen as a prime asset. This is especially true given the potential departures from the club this summer. Darwin Núñez, who has frustrated fans more than he has impressed them, is close to leaving, while Luis Diaz is attracting interest from Bayern Munich and Barcelona. If either of them departs, Rodrygo will become the top priority on Liverpool's list. And the club isn't just talking, they are prepared to go all in to secure his signature. The situation is developing in a peculiar way. Real Madrid isn't actively pushing anyone out, but they are discreetly placing for sale signs on a few players. The dynamics have shifted significantly since Kylian Mbappe's arrival. Combined with the emergence of academy product Gonzalo Garcia, Rodrygo has now fallen to fourth in the pecking order. His role during the Club World Cup was primarily to warm the bench, making only brief substitute appearances that didn't change the game's outcome. It's understandable that the player is considering testing his options with a new team in a new league. However, Real Madrid is not in a desperate financial position and can afford to sell only if a substantial offer is made. The sticking point is that hefty price tag, $100 million, which is the same amount Liverpool is demanding for Luis Diaz. The transfer now seems to hinge on timing. If Bayern's interest in the Colombian forward cools, Rodrygo could be on his way to Liverpool. If not, Madrid will likely continue to play a waiting game until the transfer deadline. For Rodrygo, Anfield, with its rich history, influence, and ambition for a squad refresh, represents the perfect stage to become a star player. This is particularly true as new manager Arne Slot reportedly envisions him not as a traditional winger, but as a versatile roaming attacker with defensive responsibilities on the flank, a mini Mané, but with the polish of a Madrid player. The path to a completed deal is still long. Negotiations are expected to be challenging, and the final outcome depends on other transfers, chiefly the fate of Luis Diaz. But one thing is certain, Liverpool has not been this close to acquiring a player of Rodrygo's caliber in a long time. In an era where rebuilding quickly and moving on from underperforming assets is crucial, a transfer like this isn't just an upgrade, it's a statement of intent, and from the looks of it, Anfield is ready to make that statement.